Yeah, the kids showed some greatness, and that's right. I mean, the Eagles, the Cougars, and the Bulldogs all got some big wins in their district openers. So let's start this week's wrap in Odessa, where Abilene High met up with the Odessa Broncos on the road at the historic Ratliff Stadium. Well, what a week for high school football. All three Abilene teams getting big wins.
Those were huge.
And those two games, Albany, Stanford, Colorado Wall, district titles on the line, because those basically do determine the district titles usually.
That Stanford-Albany game, I was at that one, and both teams, we're going to see them well into the playoffs. I kind of want to put that down already. Those teams are so good. They're both top 10 quality.
Yeah, you got to go to that game. I got to go to Colorado Wall, so we both kind of got those.
Exactly. We got a good take on it all.
Well, now that we've talked about high school football, let's move on to college. Another crazy week in college football, especially that Red River Rivalry. I actually said it right the first time. I thought I was going to mess it up the first time. Texas and Oklahoma, so much anticipation going into this game. But really, only one team really lived up to the hype. Texas, just maybe a little too young, Mike.
Yeah, it was a real problem with you. Take a look at some of these numbers, total yards between the two teams. I'll give you one guess. The team on the left wears crimson and cream.
Right.
Total yards, passing yards, the rushing yards. That's a huge one everybody should know. 36 yards versus 86. I mean, yeah, both teams are under 100. That shows just how impressive those defensive lines were in this game. Absolutely incredible.
And that big stat that I really pay attention to is the turnovers. Landry Jones did such a great job at taking care of the ball. The 5 turnovers really, was the spell that broke Texas' chance at winning this game. 5 turnovers, just way too many.
And the barometer test that this really was for the Texas Longhorns. They're ranking 11 coming into this one. Maybe it seemed a little inflated, just a little bit. They're still a good team, but like we've talked about before, it's that youth that really caught them.
And there's the youth right there in that graphic. 20 out of 36 between the two young quarterbacks, the freshman and sophomore, and McCoy and Ash. But Landry Jones, I mean, he is a junior, but he plays like he's a senior. He's a 3-year starter.
Right, a
3-year starter, over 300 yards in the game, but just so much experience on the team along with Landry Jones, really.
And we have some video we want to show you at home from yesterday's game of the Red River Rivalry about the quarterbacks. Take a look at just what these guys were able to do.
And well, this isn't the video yet, but we'll show some freeze frames in a little bit of it was all about that experience in Landry Jones when we do get to see the video.
And take a look at this one.
Here we go. It is right here. So the young quarterbacks, Case McCord right here at quarterback, Aaron Colvin is the spotlight right there, and then Casey Walker. Oklahoma adding the extra pressure, and the young quarterbacks not knowing how to handle the pressure, and McCoy not able to change the play at the line, and then it results in a sack. Now let's see how an experienced quarterback handles the pressure.
Take a look at what Landry Jones does. He has the running back peel out to the left, and look what that does to the cornerback in the top of the screen. Watch him. He motions him out. He pump fakes, draws that cornerback in, then he can go right over the top to Kenny Stills. That's what they did against Florida State a little while ago. That's the kind of experience, the kind of intelligence that Landry Jones brings to a game. And he's been able to do that in every game. It's incredible to see just what he was 2 years ago taking over for Sam Bradford. And then now he's holding records for OU. He's doing incredible things, and there's talk that he's going to be the number 2 quarterback in the draft coming up.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. He connected with 9 different receivers yesterday. Jazz Reynolds had a great game. Ryan Broyles, he's going to be one of the top 5 receivers, I think, in the draft, taken over 100 yards receiving. And then Kenny Stills, almost 100 yards receiving. Just, experience all over the place. You look at the quarterback, the receiver position, just too much experience for Oklahoma, and that was the end of it for Texas.
Now, what do you think this does for Texas? Yeah, they're a young team, but they're still very, very good. They were 3-0 coming into the 3-0, 4-0 coming into this game.
Yeah, let's take a look at those schedules. We got the schedules up right now. Both teams are essentially going to be playing the same teams, but Oklahoma gets Kansas first. They're one of the few teams still undefeated in Big 12 play. That could be an interesting game, but 3 out of the last 4, A&M, Baylor, and Oklahoma State, that's going to be a tough way to end the year, and that could be, an especially important, those 3 of those 4 games could be especially important setting for the BCS standing.
Exactly, and there's that 12-3 date the Oklahoma Sooners have with the Cowboys. On the flip side of that, the Texas Longhorns have Oklahoma State coming up next.
Right, they're first, exactly.
Right.
And the Cowboys have been one of the best teams in the Big 12. Brandon Tweeden.
They're one of the most underrated teams in the nation.
They really are. Brandon Tweeden, you talk about experienced quarterbacks, a 28-year-old quarterback. who plays like it. I mean, the guy's been lights out this year. But yeah, both schedules are going to be very tough for Oklahoma and Texas. The Big 12, you can say all you want about all this expansion talk that's been happening, but the Big 12 is still a very competitive conference, and it's going to be a tough road for both teams.
And it's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch how these teams stand out and how, we see them unfold. I think both teams are, of course, bowl caliber. Question is just what kind of BCS bowls do the Oklahoma Sooners throw up, and can the Texas Longhorns bounce back from this loss and keep pace, try and make themselves BCS
and the
eligible.
BCS polls start next week.
That's going to be a fun one to see where the Sooners land as well as Oklahoma State.
So like you said, Texas, if they want to get in that first poll, they got Oklahoma State in that first game. And, of course, like we said, Oklahoma gets Kansas. So if both teams get a win, maybe we could see both teams from that Red River Rivalry. I almost got it the second time. Maybe we can see them both in the BCS polls if they both get a win, especially Texas. That's a big win if they can beat Oklahoma State.
He's Brandon Ortega. I'm Mike Skow. Coming up next on Sports Sunday.